Hello, this is Angela from Walk Weft with a quick tutorial on making these hessian or burlap leaves. So I wanted some for a project that I was making, and this stuff frays like crazy. So I wanted to find some way of stiffening it and stopping it from fraying, and this is how I did it. So to start with, you need a piece of hessian or burlap. I've just cut a rough square here. It's easier to do it in one piece than try and cut out the leaves and do it afterwards. So you need a surface for it to go on. Something that it is not going to stick to, because you're going to use PVA glue to stiffen this and to stop it fraying. The first time I did it, I used some waste plastic packaging. This time I've got this picture thing here. It's kind of perspexy. It's white on the back. I've often used the back of it as a palette when I'm painting, and I know this front part here doesn't stick because I've tried it before. So you just need to get some PVA glue, a cheap paintbrush, pour yourself out some PVA glue, and just saturate your piece of hessian with the glue. Now it does look white here, but it will dry clear. So you just paint it all over. Make sure it's saturated all through with this glue. It will take quite a bit of glue. You know what? I'm going to pour it on top and spread it out on there. It's probably easier, less waste too. Okay, just spread it out. Now you need to make sure that you work it right in to the fabric. And by the way, this technique will work with not just with hessian or burlap. It also works with printed fabric, or plain fabric for that matter. Any kind of fabric that will take water-based material. Once that's done, you just leave it to dry. Just going to put this aside now. Once it's dry, it will have buckled a little bit, but because you're using such small amounts, it doesn't really matter. So with this, you can colour it, and I have done that. So I'll show you how I coloured it. I inked the edges. So I'm just going to use this ink. This one is ground espresso, and I just inked the edges. Will soak in a little bit, but it looks really good. Gives it a little bit of a lift. So you could do that with any colour you liked. Just ink them up, and they look rather nice. You can draw on this. So if you're not good at cutting freehand, you can actually draw your shapes on it. I'm just using just a cheap biro here. And then just cut it out with a pair of scissors. Cut inside the line so that you don't have any of the pen on there. I wouldn't use anything other than a biro or a pencil, because if you use like a marker, there's a chance that that could seep into the fabric of it. If you've got any corners, any flat lines or something, or stuff that's not nicely curved, you can just trim it off. It's quite easy to do. And there I've got another leaf. So I'll just ink that one up, because I can see a little bit of pen on that. You can either cut that off, or you can just ink it all the way around. You can make flowers this way too. Just to show you what else you can do, this is a die cut. I'm just going to draw around the edge of it to get myself a flower shape. The reason I'm not cutting this out using the die is because these have a hole in the middle, and I don't particularly want that big a hole in the middle of my flower. So rather than just cut a piece of cardboard and then trace around the cardboard, it's actually easier to trace around the die itself. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that out. Sorry, I should have kept that in the view of. I'm going to spray it with a little bit of spray ink. Well, it's not actually spray ink. It's a homemade spray ink that I made out of food colouring. It's the paste one, and some water, and I'm just going to spray this. This one's a brownish colour. As you can see, it takes the colour quite well, and that is definitely a darker shade than the other one. And here I'm going to spray a scrap piece of the hessian, the burlap, with some red dye that I made myself, again from food colouring and water. If you want it darker, then spray more on. If you want it lighter, then just leave a light coat on. I've sprayed a fair bit on this, and we'll just leave it to dry. I cut this piece of stiffened hessian with a die cut, and I've sprayed it with gold paint, aerosol gold paint, and then I've put a stick-on pearl in the middle. I have a piece of coffee dyed muslin. I have 2 of my cut out leaves that I've edged with ink, and a tag that I've prepared. It's just a pre-printed piece of card with some brown seam binding. So I'm just going to place the muslin on there, and then the flower on top of that. Tuck the 2 little leaves in, and just move it around until I'm happy, and I'll glue that down, and I've got a simple tag.